Unfortunately, in today's episode, the microphone gremlins are back, so my microphone's a little bit scratchy. However, this was such a great interview, I did not want to redo it, so hopefully this won't be too annoying. Enjoy it, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Meet Your Neighbours. And today, I'm really happy to have a guest that I've been talking to for a while, and that's Loco4Pack. How you doing, Gary?
I'm doing great. How you doing there, G4?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Thanks for agreeing to be on the channel.
Definitely my pleasure.
So we kind of met. I guess we met through not only your podcast, but I think we met through the old Fallout community, and I did the kind of, I think it was Chaos and Fallout that pointed me in your direction way back in the day when Evolution this settlement was ongoing, and we'll talk about that in a little bit of time. But the first thing I like to know is, and the viewers like to know is, where are you currently residing? Where do you live at this point, mate?
I live in South Central Iowa,
Mm-hmm.
which is much different than South Central LA.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely tell you that.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so I'm nearly smack dab in the middle of the United States.
Nice.
So yeah.
And is that where you were born, or have you moved there?
Yeah, I was born the town that I live in. I was born about I don't know 40 miles away, and then my mom and dad moved here
Mm-hmm.
shortly after I was born, and um, I lived here most of my life except for moved away while I was in the military and that kind of thing. But
Yep.
came back about 15 years ago, and so yeah.
Fantastic. And is it like a little rural area? Give me a flavour of it,
Yeah,
what it's like.
yeah. So Iowa's got a lot of farms and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then this town that I live in, we are famous for being the sprint car capital of the world.
Oh, really?
So anybody that likes sprint car racing, and if you've never seen it, it looks like a little, a beefed up go kart with
Yes.
wings on top.
Yep.
Yes, and so this is where they have the nationals every year for the sprint cars, and the town is usually somewhere between 7,500 and 8,000 people.
Wow.
That's our town population, and it's grown during the nationals time period for about a 2 week time period.
Mm-hmm.
We easily go over 100,000 people.
Wow. Wow, that's a huge influx of people, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah, in a small town, you cram that extra 100,000 people in here, and it gets pretty crazy.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, where do you put them all? Wow. I guess they have to bring their own accommodation, a few of them.
They hit every campground within probably 75 miles, I would guess. They hit every hotel. There's people that rent out their basements to have people. I know people that rent out their garages, and they just they get army cots or whatever.
Wow.
They'll sleep anywhere. They bring campers and put them up in people's yards. There's people that put like 4 or 5 campers in their yard. It's crazy.
Wow. So, guys, if you're looking for a vacation,
Yeah, come to Knoxville, Iowa, in the second week of August, and you'll rip roaring and ready to go. Especially if you want to do some drinking and watching auto racing.
I can imagine there'd be a bit of tidying up to be done after everybody buggers off. But anyway.
Oh, the best part is the Sunday, because the final race is Saturday night.
Yep.
That Sunday morning by like 9:30, 10 o'clock, there's pretty much nobody else here in town except for the residents.
Wow.
Everybody's gone. It's just the craziest thing.
I'm sure, though. I'm sure. I haven't grown up in my little community wasn't quite that small, but I'm sure that it's a nice injection of cash every year for that small community. Yeah, that'd be a huge injection of cash. Actually, 100,000 people. Wow.
Yeah, there's businesses through the rest of the year and make a crap ton of money during that time period, and that's what they live on.
Yeah, fair enough too. So, Mike, kind of moving around to your YouTube channel. How long have you been doing YouTube now, Gary?
Um, I started YouTube May, I think right around May or June. It was um, shortly after Far Harbor dropped,
Hmm.
with Fallout 4. So, um, it was like May, June-ish, maybe even July of 2016.
Wow, excellent.
And yeah, so coming up on 3 years. And my first video was so that I could show Phoenix, um, one of my builds, and yeah, I
Nice.
wanted her to see one of my builds, and so the first video I did, I just used it's the Xbox DVR or the gamer DVR, whatever it is,
Yep.
all through the PC, and I had no way to edit it or anything like that. I had to do it all in one take, and so, and I was in Far Harbor and I wanted the sun out, and I was like prepping, and all of a sudden the sun come out. And I'm like, holy crap! Start recording. Let's go. And then I went through and did my my tour of my settlement like while the sun was out, and I was like all panicky and stuff, and it was very very rough. But I mean, my videos aren't much better than that now, but at least I can time them however I want, and I can actually edit them a little bit.
Fantastic. Yeah, okay. So what kind of motivated you to make content? What was the thing that kind of motivated you to put together and just hop on YouTube? I mean, why was it your chosen medium?
Um, Well, I had tried pictures, and I had shared some pictures with a friend of mine who I played Star Wars: The Old Republic with, and he was playing Fallout 4 as well, and he got really big into building and building with mods and all that kind of stuff, and he actually got me to use mods
Hmm.
at the time, so I was using all the same build mods that he was using,
Yep.
and it was actually while using those mods, I realized I didn't like using mods. And then when Far Harbor came out and all my mods didn't like Far Harbor and it broke my game, I virtually swore off of mods. So anybody that knows me, they know I build in vanilla,
Hmm.
and I appreciate the mods, and I just have chosen not to use them. But yeah, so sending the pictures back and forth, I never felt like you really got the scale or the good imagery of the like of your builds and stuff like that.
Yep.
So if I was going to share it, I decided it was best to share it through a video. And then as the first after the first couple times, I'm like, well, I want to try to do it a little bit better, so that way, I can you know put it together a little nicer and make it a little bit more polished and all that kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
it started off just so I could show a few people, and it was pretty humorous because a lot of people, they'll oh, I'm gonna do a special event for my first 100 subs, or
Hmm.
500 subs, or 1,000 subs, or whatever. and
Yep.
and at the time, there was a lot of people know the names, of some of the bigger Fallout 4 YouTubers, and some of the people that used to do a lot of Fallout 4 YouTubing and now has gotten into other games and stuff.
Hmm.
Davey and Mad Queen and some of those people,
Yep.
and they were doing the celebrations and all that kind of stuff. Well, I thought it was kind of silly to do like, hey, I got 300 subs, I'm gonna have a special event or whatever, and so I actually did a special video, um, for I said that once I get to 18 subs, I'm going to do a special video for that occasion. And I just chose an arbitrary number. And it was funny because I was telling all my friends, and I had people at work subbing to me just to get me up to 18. They didn't watch any of my videos, mind you. They just subbed so I could get to 18. So I made the video, and that was the video. It was after Wasteland Workshop, I think, the one
Yep.
that you get the mortar.
Yep.
And if you go out and look for it, gosh, I wish I could remember the name off the top of my head, but it's one of my it's from a couple years ago.
Yep.
So I actually shot Marcy um, out of the mortar, and this was back when you couldn't kill her, and I had to rig up this contraption and everything, and I got her to stand up on this platform, and I removed the platform, and she fell down in the mortar. And as soon as she hit in the mortar, I fired it off, and you just see her arms flopping and everything flying through the air, and I just lost that. I just started laughing like crazy. So my reaction is in that video is live and in person, and not Memorex or anything. It was my real reaction. I just thought it was hilarious. So
Oh
yeah,
my!
it was.
I think we've all wanted to fire Marcy out of cannon, so
Oh yeah.
kudos.
Well then, yeah, and that was what was so great about it. I was like, yes, I got Marcy.
I think she's the most hated character in Fallout 4. I think that's I've read that
I,
somewhere.
I can believe that because and there's a lot of people that killed her off. Her and her husband, like once they made it so you could kill the people. And I'm like, I don't like her, but I don't like her so much that I'm just gonna kill her off. I just felt really weird about it because I always try to play the good guy, but it wasn't gonna stop me from shooting out of a cannon. That's for sure.
I think the last playthrough I did, I dressed the husband in a, I put him in a dress and her in a suit.
That's so appropriate.
um, so my the channel name, the Loco4Pack, where did the origin of Loco4Pack come from? I think you've told me in the past, but I'm sure a lot of people listening won't know the story.
Yeah, right. So basically, it's a combination of more or less two or three of my favorite loves,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of amalgam whatever. A
Amalgamation, yep.
combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the word. The combination of them all. And so basically, I am a train fan.
Yep.
I like trains, model trains specifically. If I could ever have the space and the money, I would build myself a model train layout, HO
Nice.
scale, if anybody's curious. And so um, then I'm a huge Packers fan.
Yep.
You should, a lot of people can figure that one out.
Yep.
So, and my favorite football player was Brett Favre, which is the number 4.
Aha.
So I'm, and if you kind of use some Latin or whatever, loco meaning crazy. So I'm crazy for the Packers
Yep.
is basically what it means, but it's also loco as in train, number 4 for Favre, and then pack for Packers. So it's kind of like this, you know, big conglomeration, and it has kind of a few different meanings, but they're all like right knitted all together.
Nice, nice. It's always interesting to hear people's stories behind because gamer tags and I guess channel names are always a personal. It's always a personal story, and we've heard some really nice stories behind these, Mike. So thank you for sharing that with us. Um,
Definitely.
thing I like about your channel, Gary, and you seem to be able to innovate with your kind of segments that you come up with. And, like I said earlier, I think Chaos and Fallout was the guy that pointed me towards your kind of evolution of a settlement challenge. Where did that idea come from?
Well, it, I think I was talking with Sushi Cat. It might have been Sushi Cat one night, and then I was also talking with Mikey Quick Smoke
Mm-hmm.
and Phoenix. Like within a couple nights period, and the storming or anything at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden, I was like, how cool it would be to see. Like from the beginning of the game, like as you're learning those attributes and those things, a settlement that it starts off with something, and then as you learn more things, you add it to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, so you're tracking that one settlement over time as you're learning new attributes and new abilities and new, being able to build new things and getting more people and
Yep.
all that kind of stuff. And because so many of us, especially if you're using mods or something, you're going in there and you're just getting yourself up to a high enough level so you can build all the stuff and have all the abilities to craft whatever you need and all that kind of stuff. And
Yep.
then you go build,
Yep.
right? And I wanted to try to, instead of just going and building something and just saying, "Oh, build me a settlement that fits this criteria or whatever,"
Yep.
because I easily could have said, whatever the final criteria was, which was like everybody has to have a bed, you have to have enough food, enough water, you have to have one of every vendor, and you have to have adequate defenses for your settlement,
Yep.
right? And then you had to have supply lines going out,
Yep.
and everybody had to be employed, and all the different criteria that went along with it. I could have just said, build me a settlement like that, but then you get the final product, but you don't get to see how it grows, and there's so many people that um, did such a great job of like Sardeliac did a great job of. He took one building and he moved around like 3 or 4 times.
Hmm.
And it's something that I had actually done too. I had this building that was in this one spot, and then I moved it a little bit, and I had a fence around it, and then I took the fence away, and then I completely did away with it, and I moved kind of the purpose. I built a new building that fit the, because it was for the farmers, and I built a new building for that, and I
Hmm.
put it in a completely opposite side of the settlement, and there's other people that did a lot of the same type of stuff, and that was really cool. I thought that was really neat because it wasn't like you didn't just see a new building go up, you saw this building get repurposed over
Yes.
time.
Yes.
And I thought those were the types of things, and that was the things that I wanted to see in that challenge. And that's why I needed and wanted those updates on a regular basis so we can see, like, maybe, oh, well, now that I can do this, I don't need that thing here. I can maybe use it for something else because I want to build this other thing over there, type of thing. So, it's one of the goals that I wanted to see, and I wanted to see how a lot of different people would handle those same types of opportunities because I didn't think of them as restrictions
Yep.
per se. I thought of them as opportunities to demonstrate how a settlement might grow.
Yep.
Because, if you look at, say, my town, 100 years ago, it looked vastly different than it does now. Over
Absolutely.
time, you know, in wherever anybody lives right now, think of a business that is at a place that wasn't there 10 years ago, but some other business was there.
Yep. Yep.
It's kind of a way to capture real life, and
Yeah.
that's where I came up with the idea.
Yeah, and I was going to say it totally does kind of mimic real life. But what I loved about, because I didn't participate in the challenge, but I was a consumer of the challenge, if that makes sense. And
Yep.
it was astounding what a number of creative people in the community did with the brief. It was just some of the stuff that came out of that whole challenge was quite amazing. It was quite stunning, and it did allow people to be incredibly creative. It was I enjoyed it a lot. It was hard to keep up with everybody at times, but um,
Yeah, yeah. Well, your guest from this past Monday,
yep,
um, he did an amazing job with his storytelling,
yes, he
and that
did.
was one of the things I wanted to see was the storytelling. And he got in there and he you know his storytelling and his the way he developed his building and all that kind of stuff and showed it as it's being constructed. Every week you see a new wall or something go up and all of that kind of stuff, and his extra editing that he did to put it all together. It was because of him. I'm really glad that I put a time limit of say like 3 to 5 minutes for your weekly update because at least he didn't have to put together a 10-minute video
Oh yeah,
because he wouldn't have been able to do it. And I mean, unfortunately, like the 12 updates was in the end, I realized was a bit much to have that many updates plus the third monthly update, and we lost some people that couldn't keep going because they built too fast.
yep,
They didn't quite grasp the build a little bit over time and let it develop and grow and that kind of stuff. And they were just like, just go build a bunch of stuff, and yeah, I'll add these other things to it, but I'll do all the major building first. And then next thing you know, they couldn't do anything. And which to each their own.
yep,
But I'm not saying that they did it wrong, but it was my fault for having the challenge go as long as it did. I mean, I could have cut out 4 weeks, and I think that would have been more than enough to really get the whole point across and everything. But I had a blast, and I know a lot of other people did. There was so many people because I think the updates were on Thursdays, so many people look forward to Thursdays just to see all of the new updates come out, and it was just great.
Yeah, I was one of those, and I got to say, mate, you got to try these kind of things on your channel. You got to try these ideas, and that's what I found on my channel as well. You've got to evolve them, you've got to tweak them. So yeah, no, a big shout out to Jabik because that's who we were talking about.
Yeah,
about
definitely. Yeah.
and yeah, you have to when you're building segments and ideas, it's you're not always going to get it spot on first time. But I tell you what, you got pretty close with that challenge, man, and I think everybody did appreciate it a lot. Um, so I guess
Well, thank you.
no problem. I guess then moving on, Mike, we had big expectations coming from the Fallout 4 kind of building process into 76. What's your take on the building component of Fallout 76?
There's so many things I like about it, but so many things I'm amazingly frustrated with.
Okay.
Um, it's I like a lot of the materials we get to build with, right? I like, um, just obviously vanilla.
Yep.
I like the fact that um, because it's only 25 years later, we don't have like the super scrappy ones like you have in 76 as far as the scrappy walls and stuff. You do
Yep.
have scrappy walls, but you know, if you had a lot of those around, that would look kind of out of place
Yep. I agree.
because there's so many other materials that you could just go rip, the corrugated steel off of other buildings and build your walls or,
Hmm.
stuff like that. So I appreciate the fact that, and also they made all of the wall sizes universal and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I like that as well, but there's so many times that I wish I could use a pillar and sink something into the ground
Yep.
or change the elevation of my foundations. You're pretty limited. Like you put the foundation down and you got just a little bit of room to move it up and down, and that's it.
Hmm.
And they restrict you quite a bit. So there's that I don't care for. I One of the things that I don't know if I've heard a lot of people complain about it, but one of the things I really do like, and this falls into that evolution of a settlement thing, is you learn those plans for all the things over time. You either
Yes.
have to find them or you have to buy them, and I can really, as much as I enjoyed my own challenge, I can really appreciate that, and it makes it rather interesting. Um, I wish I built more in it.
Hmm.
I haven't built as much as I'd like. I've been wanting to move my camp for at least 4 months,
Yep.
at least, and you know how it's like. You're like, well, I'd really like to have this be near this one resource,
Yep.
or some resources or whatever. And for me, I want to be around lead because I
Yep. For ammunition.
am. Yeah, well, I chose to play as a commando, which
Yep.
means I have to have a lot of ammunition.
Yep.
And for anybody that's never played 76 and specifically, commando is probably um, the worst build to do, as far as actually being able to, yeah, especially if you want to do any kind of PvP against anybody, because you're not one shot killing anyone.
Yep.
Um, I have fun with it though, and so that part I don't mind. I can still kill a lot of things pretty fast and whatnot, and I still have fun with it. But you chase the ammo a lot, and
Yeah.
so that becomes a problem. Um, but yeah, so I enjoy getting those new plans and going, oh, what can I build now? And trying to hunt them down or go buy some or something. That's so much fun.
And it's interesting you say that because I think that's something that I've enjoyed watching with our common friend Mikey because Mikey loves buying stuff in the item shop, but it's
Yeah, he does.
it's been really nice to watch his settlements and his builds evolve as he's been able to get new and new stuff. And if you watch a couple of those, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. He does some really nice builds. Although he's changing the location every week pretty much, but
Yeah,
he
yeah.
he
And see,
enjoys it a lot.
I wish I had the guts to do it like he does, but because he does move it around a lot, and he does do the evolution thing really well because of, like I said, he's chasing those new plans and those new things. So you're always seeing something new every time you build something.
Mhm.
It's great.
So, one of the things that I do admire about you as well in your channel and the collaboration that you've had with Mikey, and I'm lucky, I'm very blessed that I've got the collaboration with Mikey now too. But
Yeah,
the podcast that you do, and I've got to say thank you so much. I run this idea of doing Meet Your Neighbours in this form past you before I started it, but you were the inspiration for this kind of segment. But your podcast and talking to gamers and where did that idea come from? Because I love, I think a lot of people were hooked by it.
yeah, that was something Mikey and I were sitting around, and this was happened before 76 came out.
Hmm.
Because our first one was like last August or July or something like that. So it's been about a year when we did our first one, and that was with Sushi Cat and Kevin,
Yep.
which was interesting because they were both in the. Well, Kevin at the time was in France and Sushi Cat was in the UK,
Yep.
and it got to be really late for them, particularly because we started at the time that we normally start at,
Yep.
and so it was really late for them, and that ended up being like a 4.5, 5 hour stream,
Hmm.
and so I'm surprised those two were still able to make coherent sentences by the time we got done. But it was just something Mikey and I were sitting around, and it was about this time of year, last year,
Yep.
and I think he floated the idea by. He goes, you know what the community needs? The community needs gamers to interview gamers.
Yep.
That and whether or not they do YouTube or not doesn't matter. But gamers to interview gamers. So he goes, so many people and so many things. There's gamers that get interviewed, and it's by tech magazines or all these different sites that maybe the people aren't really gamers. They can talk the talk, but are they really gamers?
Hmm.
Do they know what really gets the gamers, to tick or that kind of thing?
Hmm.
And he came up with the kind of the initial idea, and then we were sitting there talking about it, and it just started growing and that kind of thing, and so I got the privilege of being the site that we did it on, mostly because I can actually stream, and he has a lot of difficulty with
Yep.
it. He doesn't have a computer that he can stream from and set it all up and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And so I get the privilege of doing the stream, and then we kind of work on. Okay, he does a lot of the promotion stuff because I am the one that's doing the streaming,
Hmm.
and we talk about, okay, who are we going to get next, and that kind of thing. And um, so we have that kind of thing going, and um, it's so we early on we were kind of coming together and working out what questions we were going to ask and that kind of thing, and so it was mildly scripted.
Yep.
Although we didn't give any of the questions to anybody ahead of time, but we wanted to make sure that we kind of came in somewhat prepared and there wasn't a lot of dead time.
Hmm.
But then after the first couple of episodes, we realized gamers have a lot to say.
Yeah, they
You
do.
ask them one question and they can run on for a long time.
Yeah, they can.
So yeah, and next thing you know, you've blown out like 3 or 4 of your questions. Like they just keep going. Like, well, several times either Mikey or myself would be like, "Well, hey, hold on, we're going to talk about that here in a minute," you know, and so then we just said, you know what, we're not professional at this. Let's just wing it.
Yep.
And so that's what we, after about a couple, 3, 4 maybe episodes, we just said, screw it, let's just wing it.
Yeah, I think.
And we've been doing that ever since. And I think it works out better. It gives us more flexibility, and then it also gives us a lot of opportunity to get the chat involved, and that's what we really like as well, is get the chat involved and that kind of thing.
I think it's a great formula, and it kind of leads on to my next question for you. You're a gamer. What is it that you like about gaming? What attracts you, and why are you a gamer?
For me, um, for for me, I like the interaction of my entertainment, right?
Hmm.
It's if anybody that's ever old enough, I don't know if they still make them or not. But when I was a kid, they had these books that was called the Choose Your Own Adventure book.
Hmm.
And if you don't know what that is, you would read along and then you get to a point where you are given a choice. You get to make a choice between two, three, four different options, whatever it was. And then you make your choice and then it'll tell you turn to page 76. So you're turning from page say 24 up to 76,
Yep.
and then you start reading again. Then you make another choice, and you may have to go, forward another 10 pages or whatever until you get to the end.
Yep.
And so to me, I got to interact with that, and then not like I said, I was pretty young, and there wasn't the same type of games that we have now. I mean, Pong was at which was cool and all, but it's not the same as video games we play now.
No.
Now, when you get your stories, and that's one of the things for me, I like games with stories. I can definitely play the mind-numbing games on my phone that are
Hmm.
just the time wasters. I can be completely entertained by those. But I love story-driven games, and because I get to choose my own adventure,
Hmm.
particularly something like Fallout 4, Fallout 76, games like that where you have a story,
Hmm.
but you can also kind of create your own story in your mind, which was part of my challenge. I encouraged people to role play with it and put that into their thing and make their own story up
Hmm.
and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people did, and I have done that quite a bit through my build series that I do
Yep.
on my channel. I kind of role play, and I most of the time I'm using Codsworth. I like to talk with Codsworth as I'm doing things, and anybody's watch my stuff, and I like to interact with all the NPCs in the game, and that was one of the things that I can't remember. I must have been streaming one time or something, and one of the NPCs said something, and I just kind of reacted to him, and I had some people in the channel um, in my Discord channel while I was doing it, and like a couple people laughed and they said that was awesome, and so I'm like, people like that. All right,
Yeah.
so and then like instantly I'm like, okay, well that's what I'm going to start doing now on my build videos. Instead of just building something, going, okay, this is how you put up this wall and you put
Yep.
this over here, and
Yep.
you're really kind of um, sanitary about it, right? Or you do your simple, straightforward tour, and you're like, okay, well then here we built this thing, and then over here we have this, and you know, I wanted to do something a little bit different, and so I treated it like I was the general of the Minuteman,
Yep.
and I'm going out and I'm either recruiting somebody to be the architect and to take over the build of a settlement, or um, I'm you know hiring somebody to do it, or whatever the case is, and then I come back and I inspect them over a couple times through that process, and sometimes I'll throw out kind of a build. Here's a video of a build that I'm doing, and particularly if it's a what I think is an interesting building part
Y-
of it
Yep.
or whatever. So I have a lot of fun with that, and I'm interacting with the game that is entertaining me, and I'm feeding my that entertainment, right? So
Nice.
that's the thing I like about gaming.
Nice. So, what would be the first video game you ever played?
Um, well, obviously not counting Pong or Pac-Man, Space Invaders, all those types of things. The those would have been obviously the first ones, but the first one that I played like in this genre
Hmm.
um might have been well, had played something before Fallout 1.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember what it was. It might have been oh gosh, I just had the name of it in my mind here. Shadow something. Shadow. It was on Sony Genesis.
Oh wow, that's going back.
Uh, gosh. And it was an RPG,
Yep.
and God, I wish I could remember the name of it. It was
It'll come to
my
you.
brother and I. We still talk about it all the time, and we just thought it was great. It was just an awesome game, and at the time, I can remember them talking about um, doing a number two of that game, and I was going to buy the um, Sega the Sega whatever.
Mega System or Master System or whatever it was there.
Right, right. To in order to be able to play that game, and then I found out that system was just basically falling apart and didn't get the support that it needed and all that kind of stuff. And so I decided not to get it, and I ended up moving over to the PS1
Yep.
and whatnot. But yeah, so that game was rather interesting to me. Um, and then I played a couple when I first got my PC. I played two games that were very different. There was one that was this. It was like a CIA KGB type spy game,
Mm-hmm.
but it had a lot of detective work and all that kind of stuff. So you had to kind of um, figure out like who had assassinated somebody and break down this plot to kind of become this one world government or
Mm-hmm.
take over the world type of thing. And it was a rather interesting game. It had a much different gameplay. There was a lot of look in this room and find the clues and try to determine what the clues meant because you could pick up stuff that wasn't really a clue.
Yep.
And you had to really kind of dig through it. And I wish I could remember the name of that one. Spycraft or something like that
Oh
was
yeah,
the name of that.
Spycraft. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I kind of sort
Yeah,
of remember that. So what?
yeah.
So what would be your favorite video game if you had to choose one?
My favorite video game of all time. Um, well, I've had a crap ton of fun playing Fallout 4. I still am itching to get back in because I have several builds I still want to do in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite. I really loved KOTOR,
Mm-hmm.
and God, if they ever remade that and modernized it and all that kind of stuff. And I know there's people out there doing it and whatnot, but um, it's not the same because they can't get all of the voice actors and the rights to the voices and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not quite the same. But that game I think would probably be if you don't know what KOTOR is, Knights of the Old Republic. It's a Star Wars game
Yep. Yep.
and it was made by EA,
Yep.
and a phenomenal game. I mean, there's anybody that played it. I have never heard anybody that ever played it that did not like it. Um, it had some amazing characters. HK-47 is like my buddy. That dude is hilarious. But yeah, and it has twists and turns, and where else can you go from being a normal dude to being a Jedi and learning different skills and stuff in that way, and having that grand space adventure type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that would probably be my favorite game ever. I'm a really weird gamer. I should probably say that too. Some people play a lot of games. I
Yep.
don't really play a lot of games. I play games a lot. You
Yes.
know,
Got you.
I find a game and I play the crap out of it
Yep.
until I just you know all right, I'm done with that one. Let's move on to something else. And I played Star Wars: The Old Republic, which is loosely the newest version of KOTOR. It's like the sequel
Yep.
of KOTOR, but it's a MMO,
Yep.
and I played that for 5.5 years.
Wow.
And that I was pretty much religious on that one. I didn't play anything else. I played that one nearly every night for a solid 4 years. Nearly every night I played that, and I got into a guild and I did, dungeon raids and all that kind of stuff. And I would get in there and grind the crap out of stuff just to do things. And
Hmm.
We used TeamSpeak. We didn't have Discord at the time. We used TeamSpeak. We just sit there and you know shoot the bull with each other and make fun of each other and went and did stuff and killed things and had a great old time. So I played a lot of that one. I enjoyed my time with it, but that's not really that one definitely wouldn't be my favorite game. It had enough. It was more the spending the time with the friends in that aspect,
Hmm.
which I get to do now in Discord. I can play
Yeah.
whatever I want,
Yep.
so that's great.
Yep. So my final question for you: if I was to give you a first class ticket to anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Ooh, that's a good one. Wow. Class ticket anywhere in the world. I know where my wife would say I should go,
So
which
do
would
I.
be yeah, down in Aussie land. Um,
Been there, done
but yeah,
that.
yeah. So gosh, there's you know, mm, 'cause I've been so many places already myself, but there's still places I'd love to go see. Gosh, I'd like to say maybe Greece
Hmm.
or Rome, in that area, kind of the birthplace of Western civilization, I think.
Yep.
I'm a history buff,
Yep.
so
That's right
just
up your
that,
alley, eh?
yeah. So going someplace like that, and I did spend some time in Europe, and I got to see a little bit of it, not near as much as I wanted to because
Mm-hmm.
it was just, not in the cards, but I got to see a little bit of it, and going around, running around Europe would be way cool. Getting over into the UK and that kind of stuff, definitely. Not just mainland Europe
Yep.
would be pretty sweet as well. So, but yeah, I'd have to start in Greece, I think, and then kind of work my way kind of westward from there. I
Mm.
think would be pretty cool.
Fantastic, Gary. Okay, mate. Well, that's the interrogation is over, mate, so you can relax.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for doing that, mate. Thank you. That was very insightful, and thank you again for giving me this idea and having been brave enough to move forward with it because people love to hear for gamers, as you said earlier, and we have got a lot to say. I agree.
Yeah, definitely. And the funny thing is, gamers, I mean, we have opinions about a lot of things, not just gaming.
Correct.
You ask us a question about anything, and most gamers are pretty intelligent people,
Yep.
and they have intelligent opinions, and that's one of the things that you get involved in this community and you learn that. And there's still some knuckleheads from time to time, but you meet a lot of people that can form a pretty good thought process, so
Totally agree. So, guys, if you
I'm happy that you actually followed through with this. I know we talked about it, and I'm glad that you followed through with this, and I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. So, guys, if you haven't checked out Loco4Pack, Gary's channel, please do. I will leave links down in the description as ever. Thanks for joining us, Gary, and we will catch you next time on Meet Your Neighbours. Good say good evening, Gary.
Good evening, everybody.
Or goodbye. Catch you later, guys. See ya.